I was debating, man. Do we start? Do we start in the world of Major League Baseball where there was an absolute blockbuster deal that went down last night, first reported by Jeff Passan of ESPN. The LA Dodgers, my LA Dodgers, as I like to say, and you all know how I feel about my LA Dodgers and my Washington Nationals. So much so that I am what is the name of the team that I gave him? The Los Washington Dodgers is how I root for Major League Baseball during the 2026 season. Love my local team, the Nats. Big fan of the mentality that the LA Dodgers have. A lot of people ahead of the deadline felt as if, and for obvious reasons, right, guys? A lot of people felt as if, well, hell no. The Dodgers don't need to go out and get, Tariq Skubal. That's not a move that they need to make. They already got a very, decorated pitching staff. Yeah, they dealt with some injuries throughout the course of the year, but it almost would be adding Skubal would be an embarrassment of riches, and that's what they currently have. I give the Dodgers A for this trade. They send out outfielders Zaire Hope, righty-handed pitcher River Ryan, and right-handed pitcher Brady Smith. In terms of the return that Detroit got, when you talk about the level of talent that Skubal is, and we're talking about arguably a top 5 pitcher in all of Major League Baseball, when you think about the return that they got for him, Zaire Hope, top 30 prospect, give or take, across baseball. There's tremendous value with him. But, when you look at him through the lens of the Dodgers farm system and what they have, he's like their 4th best outfielder. So some people online I was seeing say, well, hey, is it embarrassing? Should Tiger fans be upset ultimately with the return that they got for Tariq Skubal? And I know we get a lot of love out in Detroit over on the ticket. So if you're listening on one of our over 200-plus affiliates and you are a Detroit Tigers fan or a LA Dodgers fan for that point, or just a fan of Major League Baseball, give me your thoughts on the blockbuster deal that sent shockwaves through Major League Baseball yesterday. A deal that, if you listen to our guy Josh Graham here on Westwood One Sports, you can check him out Thursday and Friday, 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern Time. You could also check him out Saturday and Sunday, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. He predicted that this deal was going to happen. Now, I thought Josh was taking a little bit of crazy pills when he gave out the take, but in reality, I texted him last night when the news happens. I said, buddy, you should, and I'm not going to say exactly what I said to him, but use your imagination here. You should pop it is the best way that I could put it for you all here on radio and on YouTube. Josh Graham should pop it. He predicted this exact deal happening. As far as the return, I want to keep that under the microscope in terms of this conversation. As far as the return goes, as far as the overall decision by Detroit, that's kind of where I was maybe a little bit in the minority, I guess, right? I did not feel like the Tigers had to make this move. They didn't. Tariq Skubal, we know how talented he is. As I mentioned, top 5, top 7 pitcher in all of Major League Baseball. Yes, I understand where the Tigers are in terms of, the landscape of the postseason and where they kind of fit when it comes to, this AL wildcard race. They're 2.5 games back of the final wildcard spot. For that reason, guys, I would have kept on to Tariq Skubal because he's a valuable asset for you, and you're not out of the race. Now, I know what some folks are going to say. It's a logjam. Really, it's like 6 teams vying for one spot. The Twins, the Guardians, the Rangers, the Orioles, the Mariners, the Tigers, and the Toronto Blue Jays, all within 3.5 games of one another. So there's a logjam when it comes to, the final wild card spot in the American League. I think the thought process of Detroit, I wouldn't have made the deal. Man. I don't agree with moving on from a talent like that when you're right in the thick of the Major League Baseball postseason race here as we get geared up for the trade deadline, which does happen tomorrow. So blockbuster deal. If you are just now waking up with us here on Sunday Morning Sports with the youngest in charge, Lynnell Willingham, a blockbuster out of Major League Baseball, Tarek Skubal, now a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. I know there's some baseball purists out there who roll their eyes and say, gosh, darn it. This is the problem. This is the problem, right? This is why we're going to have a work stoppage, because there is a competitive imbalance between, or in the league of Major League Baseball, in the sport rather, Major League Baseball. That deal last night is going to, I know, piss a lot of baseball purists off. But here's what I would say. Don't be mad at the Dodgers, guys. Be mad at the Detroit Tigers, who are essentially punting on their season as they're 2.5 games out of the final wild card spot in the American League. That's my thought on it. I'm ready to – I was debating how I was going to attack this morning, because I want to give the Dodgers credit for continuing to give a middle finger to the rest of Major League Baseball and just being uber aggressive and going out and team building. I want to give them credit for that. It's that, keeping that foot on the gas mentality. But I almost want to cuss the front office in Detroit the heck out, for lack of a better phrase, man. It's a Sunday morning, so I don't want to get too raunchy on the Lord's Day. But y'all know how I get down. Y'all know how I feel here with this. I am all about competing, right? I think competition is what makes up good sports organizations, right? I know the phrase I use. I want the damn janitors competing for who cleans the floor the best. I want the chefs competing for who's got the juiciest sirloin. Competition rules everything. What type of message, if you're in the front office and in that, if you're in the front office of the Detroit Tigers, what sort of message are you sending to that clubhouse that 2.5 games out of the wild card spot, you deal your best player? I want to hear from you all on this. 310-840-4910. Blockbuster deal out of Major League Baseball last night. Tigers ace Tarek Skubal officially dealt to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, I think it was on Wednesday we played the audio from Jeff Passan, who said on Wednesday that, yeah, he would be traded. Didn't really have much of an inkling in terms of destination, but we knew the Dodgers, based off of the embarrassment of riches that they have, we knew the Dodgers were going to be lurking in the background. They obviously pulled the trigger and land one of the best arms in all of Major League Baseball. Layered question for you all on the phones at 310-840-4910 as we talk this out in real time here on Sunday Morning Sports with the youngest in charge, Lynnell Willingham. How are you looking at this? One, if you're a Major League Baseball fan, are you, and a Tigers fan in particular, as I said a moment ago, if you're a Tigers fan out there, you're 2.5 games out of the wild card spot and you just traded your best player. It's hard for me to really put it into words, because I was surprised. I was in the minority, guys. I didn't think it would actually happen for the reasons that I'm listing. He's too talented. They're right in the thick of the postseason race. This is all about, contractual stuff, man. This is what this is about. This is why he ultimately got dealt. I think the Tigers felt that they were going to have a really difficult time signing him to a long-term deal coming up this offseason. But look, it's Sunday. If you're scared, go to church. Damn it. He's too talented of a player to just give away. And according to some baseball purists out there, that's what they did. They gave him away. Now, it depends on how you look at it, because the prospects that they got back are good. It's just the Dodgers, I would say, didn't really have to give up much, essentially, when you consider what they already had in their farm system and how easily they'll be able to replenish it, So from the Dodgers standpoint, a little silent hand clap for them, continuing to knock things out of the park, no pun intended, as an organization. For the Tigers, I don't know where you go from here. If you're a Tigers fan, we want to hear from you. 310-840-4910. If you're a baseball fan, we want to hear from you. What do you make of this? The Detroit Tigers, 2.5 games out of the final wild card spot in the American League, pulling the trigger on a blockbuster deal yesterday, sending Tarek Skubal to the Los Angeles Dodgers in exchange for Zaire Hope, the outfielder from Detroit, right-handed pitcher River Ryan, and right-handed pitcher Brady Smith. Gave you a little bit of the skinny about Zaire Hope. Here's a little bit more on River Ryan. He's probably, man, I don't want to gas it up. This River Ryan's the guy that has the star potential, I would say, of this deal. He does, and he's a guy that, has had major injury before in his career after he blew his elbow out in 2024. He didn't pitch at all last season, but somebody that, as a prospect dating back to when he was in school, like he's somebody that, scouts were super duper high on. Overall, man, overall, I think overall it's like a net equal, if we're being like real about it. I think the prospects that Detroit got back are legitimate, and they're worth taking a swing on, and they have potential of making a big time impact at the major league level. Question is, when does it happen? And when you look at this group, like I said, 2.5 games out the final wild card spot in the American League, we don't have time for growth and development, ladies and gents. This is about winning, and winning now, for that matter. I asked this question last weekend here on the program, and I'll throw it out again as we, continue to get you lined up on the phones to get your thoughts on the big-time deal that went through, guys. How much do you think the pending work stoppage in Major League Baseball is impacting how teams move here throughout the course, of this trade deadline season? 310-840-4910. Enough of me yapping. I want to get to you. I see you all beginning to line up on the phones. So let's get to you at 310-840-4910. Let's start out in Jersey, where I got Dan wants to chime in. Dan, what's going on?
Lynnell, how you doing, brother?
Yep, we got you, buddy. What you got?
All right. So, two things. One, you can't blame the Dodgers in this situation. I agree. But the other thing is, don't blame the Tigers, because the whole point here is Skubal wasn't going to resign. And if they don't trade him, they get nothing for him. You can't let one of the best players in baseball as a pitcher walk away for nothing. They had to trade him. He wasn't going to resign there, so I think that's the other thing.
This is the pushback that I have. I understand the narrative that exists out there. I know the thought process of everyone was, hey, they probably weren't going to be able to retain him. Look, man, look, all of you out there, y'all know I'm the bachelor of this program at 28 years of age. When you face rejection, ladies and gentlemen, there's a proper way to go about it. I'm not saying be creepy if you're out there in the dating world, but, show up with a box of chocolates, some flowers. I don't know what they could have done to try and rectify the relationship, but I don't like them just giving up on the situation as they're right in the thick of the postseason race.
I mean, if you look up, Lynnell, and you look up the parents' the past arbitration hearing they had, this was severed already. It was never going to be fixed. If we're going to blame anybody in this situation, blame the other teams in contention that could have went out and got him but chose not to. Those are the teams that are at fault here. They let the Dodgers get him.
Are you angry about the Dodgers getting him?
No, I mean, I'm not upset. I mean, the Dodgers honestly are the model of what you want to be right now. They have a great system. They've back-ended all their contracts, which is allowed, and they got good minor leaguers, and they gave up prospects. I mean, yeah, they're top prospects, but they're still prospects. But that's what all it takes in this day and age.
I appreciate the call as always, brother. Appreciate you tapping in. It's fascinating, man. 310-840-4910 is the number. Here on Sunday Morning Sports with the youngest in charge, Lynnell Willingham, getting you up to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, reacting to the massive news out of Major League Baseball last night. Tarik Skubal, officially a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Tigers get outfielders Zaire Hope, right-handed pitcher River Ryan, right-handed pitcher Brady Smith. I've read a bunch of I'll be honest with you guys. You all know the Seamhead Lynnell is your favorite version of me, right? I already know. I have read a bunch of different articles grading this trade and seeing where the prospects for LA ranked within their farm system. Mixed reviews is what I would say on the deal. 310-840-4910. I want to give you all time to line up on the phones. 310-840-4910. You can tweet at me as well if you want to keep the conversation rolling off air. It is at NELL_BTP. Your reaction to the big-time deal last night in Major League Baseball. Tarik Skubal traded. We all anticipated that. He goes to the L.A. Dodgers. Question for you on the phone is this. One, do you place any blame on the Tigers? Do you look at them crazy at all in terms of, their willingness to just part ways with a superstar of, Skubal's capacity when you're right in the thick of the wild card race. And I know how contentious the negotiations have gotten. I know how arbitration went during the winter. But the bottom line is there was still time for them to potentially kiss and make up. And I wonder what type of message that sends, what type of message the front office is sending to that clubhouse out in Detroit that, right in the thick of a playoff race, we're going to trade our best player. 310-840-4910. How do you look at it from the Tigers' perspective? And then do you blame the Dodgers? Are you rolling your eyes at the LA Dodgers for going out and taking a massive, massive swing like this? 310-840-4910. Final piece of this. How much do you think the impending work stoppage is going to impact free agency coming up in the winter, if we even have free agency, and then two, more importantly, how do you think it's going to impact teams and their decision making as we're about little over 24 hours away from the Major League Baseball trade deadline? 310-840-4910 is the number. We'll take a quick time out. Your calls next here on Westwood One Sports.
The Hall of Fame game is Thursday. Panthers, Cardinals, and the official start of the NFL preseason. Hear it on the Westwood One Sports app from your home of the NFL. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Wait, so that means that I could be heard? I don't want to be heard, though. Morning in sports with the youngest in Charles and Willingham, getting you up to 11 a.m. Eastern time. Remember to hit us up on the talking text line 310-840-4910. If you want to keep the conversation rolling with me off air, it is at NELL_BTP. You can officially check us out via the YouTube live stream now. Thanks to our guy Carlos with the K. We got somebody typing at us in the YouTube chat. It's LC8812. I always love to know how the hell y'all come up with these nicknames. But he says, peace. I'm in the D, and he didn't want to be here. Wasn't going to resign, and they had to get something for him. Being 2 games out didn't matter because we wouldn't have competed in the playoff. I don't understand. Like, what a loser-ass mentality as a fan, first of all, LC. And I rock with you, brother. I appreciate you chiming in. But what a loser-ass mentality. What do you mean we wouldn't have competed in the playoffs? Are you Nostradamus? Tell me who I'm going to marry. Should I play the lottery tonight, brother? I mean, come on.
He's also right. Detroit was going to get waxed if they even make the playoffs.
Here's the thing, though, about Major League Baseball. And Carlos, you and LC can very well be spot on, bro. Here's the thing about Major League Baseball, especially in the postseason. It all takes getting hot. Who's to say they can't get hot?
Cardinals did it. Your team, the Nats, did it. Diamondbacks did it. Getting there. Rangers did it. Well, no, that Rangers team was good. But, you're right. It happens all the time.
All it takes is for
not the last 2 years, though.
Carlos, real quick, because I want you to do what you did during the break. Can you show your shirt?
Oh, absolutely.
For the folks that are here for your shirt. So I know there are folks that are here specifically for your shirt.
Yes.
Did you get that at a New York show?
I actually went to AEW Grand Slam. For those of you who are not on the YouTube stream, First of all, what the hell are you doing on Sunday morning that you're not on this anyway? But for the audio audience, I am wearing an All Elite Wrestling t-shirt, which is whatever. But I got this from the New York show Grand Slam a couple years ago when CM Punk made his return to wrestling. And on the shirt itself, underneath the All Elite Wrestling slogan, it's the subway letters that have AEW NYC. So that's the reason why I have the shirt. Number one, it was free. Number two is because it has that New York, kind of insignia into it. 3, shout out to Alex Marvez, who hooked me up with the shirt, and Tony Khan.
There we go. Shout out to the good folks.
We're open for business,
310-840-4910. If you're just joining us, massive trade out of the world of Major League Baseball. Tarek Skubal, officially a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Here are the terms of the deal if you're just waking up with us here on Westwood One Sports. Dodgers obviously get the lefty ace, Tarek Skubal. As far as the Detroit Tigers, they get outfielder Zaire Hope, who, according to baseball seam heads out there, top 30 or so prospect, somebody that's pretty valuable. But in terms of what he meant to the Dodgers farm system, not the end of the world, so they probably aren't sweating moving off of him. They get right-handed pitcher River Ryan as well as right-handed pitcher Brady Smith. Looking at this situation, big picture here on the phones, 310-840-4910. If you are a Dodger fan, now I know you all keep giving me the explanation of, well, they wouldn't have been able to re-sign him anyway and so on and so forth. I just look at this from a team standpoint. What type of message is the front office of Detroit sending to their clubhouse, being 2 games out of 500 and trading your best player? I know everyone keeps talking about, there's no chance the deal was going to get done. There's no chance the deal was going to get done. We say this a lot in sports, guys. And then what ends up happening? Deals get done. I know Major League Baseball is a lot different based off of, arbitration and the way that their free agency rules are sort of set up. But I don't know, man. I want to tag in our super producer and our resident Major League Baseball insider here on the program. I got Andrew. Here's the thing. And Carlos is probably looking, I don't know, I have the Major League Baseball insider on the program. You all share the responsibility. All right, boys? I'm an equal opportunity.
I'm just been trying to figure out how to work his camera.
I'm an equal opportunity player here. Andrew, you're hip to
it worked.
The youngsters that Detroit ultimately got back. If you're circling one of these prospects as the key coup here, who would it be? And then what do you make of the overall return? Do you agree with the sentiments of some others that Detroit got fleeced?
Yeah, well, the Dodgers have a lot of really good outfield prospects. Jose DePaula, Mike Sirota, James Tibbs, and all these guys they got from trades.
I'm hip to Ferrota, yeah.
So River Ryan they got from the Matt Beatty trade, who was okay player, but nothing. And then they got Zaire Hope from the Michael Bush trade, who's on the Cubs now. But I mean, he really wasn't the best outfield prospect, and I think the Dodgers they still have a lot more, but probably Zaire Hope is the best player in the deal, and I think the Dodgers they honestly, again, they could have given up a lot more. They could have given up James Tibbs, who's been really good. They could have given up some of these other outfield prospects, and it just sucks for the Tigers because they really could have gotten more, but at least it wasn't like Ohtani where they didn't get anything for the Angels.
Yeah. This is why I look at them crazy. And Carlos, I want to get your thoughts on this too. Kind of what Andrew just alluded to here. The deadline's not until tomorrow. Why not use every ounce of time that you have to get a deal done? Because there are going to be a lot of people across the landscape of Major League Baseball who say, well, hey, Slim, this return for you is just not favorable, especially when you consider the talent that Skubal is.
Well, let me give you two answers. One that's going to infuriate the fan base, and the other one that's going to excite them. The infuriating answer is prospect hugging. The Brewers, the Yankees, the Braves, they are organizations known to prospect hug. So Spencer Jones was not going to be going to Detroit. Jesus Made for the Brewers was not going to be going to Detroit. So, these organizations are trying to be smarter but also younger at the same time. So it's like you don't really know if you're coming and going. So the Yankees, who could have made a strength even stronger by adding to that rotation with Skubal.
Right.
They didn't want to give up on their young guys, and they've been accused of doing that, in the past. Greg Bird didn't get traded. Miguel Andujar could have gotten traded earlier as well. And then, a lot of these prospects, they come up and they finally realize, all right, well, these weren't the guys we should have been holding on to in the first place. So the Yankees being the Yankees is the reason why, Skubal is a Dodger. And the same could go for the aforementioned Braves and Brewers as well, because I think those were the
Brewers are the interesting team in this to me because of them just totally outkicking their coverage and exceeding expectations for this
every year.
You want to talk about making the strength of strength? They could have done it. It's gonna be fascinating.
And they had a need too with Brandon Woodruff going in. I'm sorry not to cut you off, but Woodruff going in as a rotation. Quinn Priester might never ever pitch in the majors again. So it's not like the Brewers couldn't have used Skubal. But I promise you two answers. So here's the one that's going to excite all the people, and I hope everybody who is a conspiracy theorist has your tinfoil hat. I think the Tigers, along with 28 other owners in baseball, wanted Skubal to go to the Dodgers because this is the smoking gun that you need for all the fans to clamor for a salary cap. This is now the number one reason. The Dodgers are public enemy number one. Let's all blame them. Don't look at Bob Nutting and Dick Monfort and Artie Moreno not spending any money and putting anything into our organization. Don't look at these guys. No. Let's blame the big back Dodgers because they get everybody. You thought Lamar Jackson was collusion? Baby, this is collusion.
With a capital C. 310-840-4910. If you're just now waking up with us on Sunday Morning Sports with the youngest in charge here on Westwood One Sports, Tarik Skubal, officially a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Here's the return that Detroit got back. Outfielder Zaire Hope, righty pitcher River Ryan, righty pitcher Brady Smith. Carlos brings up an interesting point of is this the smoking gun potentially that, the folks throughout Major League Baseball, the owners throughout Major League Baseball need, to push for a salary cap. Here's the thing. I mean, they're going to be able to sign him to a big-time contract this summer. That's what I'm eager to see. What are the actual numbers when he puts pen to paper on an extension? But for right now, I think this deal is a byproduct, as Andrew mentioned, as Carlos mentioned. This deal right now is a byproduct of what the Dodgers had in their farm system. If you're a Milwaukee Brewers fan out there, I think that's the team that I think should be, upset about this. Our guy Eric Billups tweets at us, what's going on, E? Saying, come on, man, Dumbo sucks, talking about Dave Dombrowski out in Philadelphia. 310-840-4910 is the number. What do you make of the deal? Is this good for Major League Baseball, bad for Major League Baseball? Can you blame the Tigers at all for, shipping off their best player as they sit here 2 games out of the wild card spot in the American League? 310-840-4910. Ron is in Chicago wanting to chime in. Ron, what's going on, brother? Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Well, you mentioned the other teams that didn't try to go after here's one of the biggest issues. I'm a big Sox fan, but I like the Brewers. But if you remember going back to CC Sabathia, Cobra, see, the Brewers always end up trading those players because they can't sign them or they don't try. So the thing is, they didn't want to give up prospects knowing that they would make them. Now, I would be surprised. I'm going to be looking forward to listening to local radio regarding the Cubs because the Cubs could sign him, and the Cubs need pitching real bad. So I'm going to be interested.
God, I hope so.
I'm going to be listening to the Cubs talk, but I get it. But Detroit did. They just had to do it the best they could do. They weren't going to be able to sign.
But here's the thing: can you say they did it to the best of their ability if they didn't wait until the last final moment? They had all day today, and they have tomorrow until the afternoon time to be on the phone working out a potential deal.
Nothing was going to change. The Dodgers would
deadline spur actions, baby. You know that.
But look here. Hey, good talking to you. Now
yes,
we got to see. It's some other pitchers out there. We'll have to now.
For sure. That's what I'm also interested in seeing. I appreciate the call. What other movement do we see between today and tomorrow afternoon when it comes to the Major League Baseball trade deadline? Tarek Skubal was obviously the biggest domino that we were expecting to fall. Some other trades could happen as well. I want to keep our attention on the Skubal trade. 310-840-4910. Can you blame the Dodgers here? And if you're a Tigers fan, do you have the right to be, upset here at your best player getting moved as you're 2.5 games out of the final wild card spot? And then kind of the overhanging question. We briefly brought this up. My memory is shot right now during this training camp tour. It was either last week during the show or last weekend during the show. I asked the question of, how does this pending work stoppage influence the decision-making of these owners and front office members across Major League Baseball? 310-840-4910 is the number. Let's keep things on the phones. Mike is in Virginia wanting to check in. Mike, good morning to you, man. What you got?
Lynnell, always good on the radio. I'm from South Kakalaki. For 3 years I lived there.
Okay.
I'm in Virginia. Anyway, great point. Wow, I didn't realize the deadline is tomorrow. So, I mentioned the classic games I went to with the Mets, 69 series and other games and others. But the Dodgers, man, who knows? When I played even whatever, the dog days of summer, here we go. And now one of my buddies is a Met fan and said it's going to be a fire sale for the Mets and whatever. But this is the dog days of summer. Let's see. There's ups and downs and peaks and valleys. And what else was I going to say? Well, you got – I always tune you in on a Sunday morning, and we spoke a few times on that,
Yes, sir.
And keep doing what you're doing and yada, yada, yada. Now I'm going to go play some music later on my wood grain conga.
I appreciate you as always, man. 310-840-4910 is the number. Let's do this. We'll wrap up the calls here before we put a bow on this conversation. Our guy Daryl out in Ontario. Daryl, what's going on, man? Long time no speak, brother. What you got for us?
Hey, how are you?
Doing good. We got you, Daryl?
Sorry, just try to take out speaker. Half a second.
No, all good. What you got for us, man? What do you make of the move?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good, man.
Good.
You're a sweetheart, buddy. I appreciate you.
Well, I'm happy you're good. You're sounding good on the radio like you always do. My thing is I blame the Tigers on this. Last year, I believe they traded Fried and then ended up going on a run and losing in 5 games to Seattle.
No, buddy. Mm-mm.
Am I not right on that?
Max came from ATL, correct? Yeah. Sorry,
I thought they had Fried last year and they traded him. But anyhow, if I was Detroit, I agree with you. I would have waited till tomorrow. They probably could have got a couple first-round draft picks. They could have gotten a lot more for Skubal than what they actually got.
You know what? Before you go any further, I'm gonna stop you right there. You have a tremendous rest of your Sunday, and go look up how many first-round picks have been traded in the history of Major League Baseball.
I can look it up for you, save you the time. The answer is 0 because you're not allowed to trade draft picks in Major League Baseball. Yet, there is a proposal on the table, but you can't trade your picks. And
310.
Fried wasn't a trade anyway. He signed with the Yankees.
He signed, correct. 310, and a great signing, by the way. One of the dogs in all of Major League Baseball. Humming. Glad that he's healthy and ready to roll. 310-840-4910 is the number. Let's wrap up the calls on this. One more. Tommy is in Michigan wanting to chime in. Tommy, what you got for us, man?
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Lynnell. Yeah, we knew this was going to happen. The talk was he's leaving, like the other caller said. They had to get some form, or, our general manager can't do what happened to Ohtani and the Angels. Our general manager would have been fired. But but what he did, I just wish we would have got because our bullpen is the worst in the major leagues. Now we've lost 17 games when having the lead after the 7th inning. Our bullpen has lost 17 games.
When you say our, I watch Nationals baseball. I hope you talk about the Nationals. We literally have the worst bullpen, maybe in the history of Major League Baseball.
I just saw a stat on the news the other day, and they said the Tigers lead the major leagues in blown saves. They've lost 17 of them when having the lead after the 7th inning. And just think if they saved half of those games, we would be in first place in the Central Division. So I was just hoping we would get a ready-made relief pitcher that could go in and start tomorrow or start sometime next week. Prospects, who knows? But it's like I thought for what Skubal is worth, how good he is, I thought we should have at least got like a top-notch relief pitcher from the Dodgers who can help us next week, tomorrow. And
that's the thing
happen.
If you're a Tigers fan that I feel like you got a legit, bone to pick here. You got back a top 30 prospect for Skubal? Like, that's the best thing you got back. That's why, some folks are slamming them online. I'm going to let you run, brother, because we're up against the clock. But real quick, a couple of numbers on the Nats, by the way. Our guy Hembo, the statistician dude for the big four-letter network, the way that they have turned things around. Nationals last year, 20th in Major League Baseball in runs per game at 4.2. This year, they're first at 5.5. But they do make no sense. This is from Sleeper MLB from 4 days ago, so the numbers may have changed a little bit. Most errors in all of Major League Baseball. 5th worst bullpen ERA at 4.98. 7th worst rotation ERA at 4.54 ERA. Worst team ERA at 4.76. But most runs scored, second most hits, most homers, highest team batting average, and the most stolen bases throughout Major League Baseball as well. They're a wagon on offense, but clearly lack things in the back end of their rotation as well as their bullpen. 310-840-4910 is the number. Tark Skubal officially out of there when it comes to the Detroit Tigers. He is now a member of the Dodgers. Andrew, is Mike on the line still? That's a no-go? It's a no-go. All right, 310-840-4910 is the number. So he is there. He's not there. He is. He dropped. I'm an idiot. 310-840-4910 is the number. Let's do this. Rare that we open up the show. The day before the Major League Baseball trade deadline, you bet your ass we're going to open up the show and talk about 45 minutes of Major League Baseball right off the rip. But let's get back into my wheelhouse, what I love the most. National Football League training camp is in full swing. Yesterday was back together Saturday in the National Football League. Let's do this. Y'all know it. I was out there, boots on the ground at Steelers camp. I was gassing up the black and gold before practice started. I got the chance to watch them. My top takeaways from Steelers practice next.
The Raiders are not going with Fernando Mendoza.
Kirk Cousins is the starting quarterback.
But how long will their first overall pick really be on the sideline? Westwood One Sports.
At At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Lynnell Willingham.
I'm a dog for that. I mean,
Wolf.
I literally was playing Russian roulette just now. Live on location, not from a practice today, but from the friendly confines of my hotel room here for Sunday Morning Sports with the youngest in charge, Lynnell Willingham. Full transparency. If you've been listening to the network all morning, and you should be, check it out. You heard me on with him. You know I'm in a hotel. I'm continuing my training camp tour. We're out at Eagles practice tomorrow, so super duper excited for that. But I'm in a hotel. And here's the thing. I go by the youngest in charge. I'm the bachelor of this network. Me and hotels, let's just be honest here. We're not familiar with one another. Be honest. We don't have a whole lot of history with one another. I'm not a big hotel guy, right? I don't have any water in this hotel room. I didn't wake up in time. Not that I didn't wake up in time. I didn't go downstairs and reap the benefits of the breakfast that they're offering at this nice hotel that I'm up in. And I'm parched, ran downstairs to get some water, and it took a little bit longer than I thought, but not really. Hashtag Insider Radio. 310-840-4910. We're going to get back into, not back into, but we'll get into the National Football League for the first time this coming up in the 9 o'clock hour on the East Coast. First and foremost, though, man, some housekeeping notes. We appreciate you all choosing to lock in with the program. However you choose to do so, you can listen to us on the AM/FM dial on one of our over 200-plus affiliates out there nationwide. You can check us out via the YouTube stream. Just search Westwood One Sports Night. Like, subscribe, comment. You can get YouTube exclusive content, including the best from my training camp tour that I'm currently on as we continue to go throughout the National Football League, man. Let's do this. Phone lines are still filing in. People are still filing in on the phones. On the Tarek Skubal trade, man, if you're just You got me now? You got me now? That was awkward. Sorry about that, guys. Little technical difficulty, little hiccup. Saturday morning here on Saturday Morning Sports. Let's do this, though. 310-4910 is the number. Tarek Skubal. Dealt from the Detroit Tigers to the LA Tigers. Outfield Zaire Hope. Really the best prospect that Detroit got back. They also get back righty River Ryan and righty Brady Smith. What do you make of the move? If you're a Tigers fan, should they have held out until later today or tomorrow in hopes of a return? Do you blame the Dodgers for going out making this big swing? 310-840-4910. We had a caller call in earlier. I believe it was actually Carlos earlier. In terms of people being pissed that the Dodgers are making a move like this, I assume that they're going to sign him to a long-term extension, coming up in the winter. But then that's the thing, right? When you talk about the landscape of Major League Baseball currently, and the fact that the work stoppage is looming large over the sport. I wonder, like I've continued to ask, how that impacts things, in terms of this trade deadline, and then just the thought process of these front offices and these executives moving forward here as they have, this impending work stoppage looming. How does it impact the decision making? How does it change things overall? 310-840-4910. 4910 is the number here on Saturday Morning Sports with the youngest and Charles and Willingham, getting you up to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Coming up on the other side, we'll take your calls on the Tariq Skubal deal next.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Lynnell Willingham.
Yes, indeed, you heard the big voice, guys. Saturday morning sports with the youngest in charge continues as we get you up to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. 310-849-10. The number 310-849-10. The number. You can tweet at me as well. Remember, if you want to keep the conversation rolling with me off air, same handle on each and every social media platform. It is at NELL_BTP. Little over 24 hours away from the Major League Baseball trade deadline, and we got some fireworks last night as we get geared up for the Major League Baseball trade deadline. Tarik Skubal, probably the biggest domino that's going to fall during this trade deadline season. He gets dealt from the Detroit Tigers to the from the Detroit Tigers to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Going back to Detroit, his top 30 outfielder prospects, Zaire Hope, right-handed pitcher River Ryan, and right-handed pitcher Brady Smith. Your overall thoughts on the deal? I want to add some more commentary to the conversation that we already had here within the opening hour. We were, tossing around the question of like, well, why did certain teams not get in on this? We had a Phillies fan tweet at us and get pissed and saying like, why didn't we do it? There was another tweet that I wanted to get to. I believe it was a Nats fan tweeting at me. My guy Allen tweeting at me saying, hey, like, why didn't the Nats get on this, man? He says, I'm good with Detroit trading Skubal. Just because you're, 2.5 games out of the wild card doesn't mean your team can hang with the big boys in October. Our Nats are a prime example of that. In the thick of it until they play big boy ball with Atlanta, about to get swept and look like they should be 100% sellers. That's an interesting perspective on where things currently stand when it comes to the Washington Nationals. But your thoughts on the Tarik Skubal deal? 310-840-4910. The injury in the IL stint that he had earlier this year with the loose bodies in the elbow. Some would say, and I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer here, but like that's normally a precursor to Tommy John. The procedure that he had. I believe, Andrew, you said Blake Snell had that same procedure done. So maybe that scared some teams off. But here's the reality of it. Why gut your farm system potentially when you can just go out and pay him the big bag coming up in free agency? That's why I asked this question. 310-840-4910. I don't know if that's a safe way to look at it because who knows when you're going to be able to officially spend money via free agency because of the work stoppage that we have inevitably coming. 310-840-4910 is the number. What did you think about the Dodgers making the trade for Skubal? Most importantly, the return that Detroit got back. A lot of people have been critical about their return. What do you make of the return that the Tigers got back? And then being 2.5 games out of the wild card spot, I said it was a bad message to send to your clubhouse if you're the front office. Am I tripping on that? Do you look at the contract status and say, hey, they had to do what they had to do? 310-840-4910 is the number. Let's go to our guy, Rafael, out in San Diego. What's going on, brother? Welcome in.
Hey, well, I am a Padres fan because I'm San Diego, but my son happens to work for the Tampa Bay Rays, which you guys don't mention very much. It's not even a money team, and it is having a awesome year, making it fun for people to watch instead of people that are, just for the money. What do you think about that?
In terms of Tampa being a team that was in on them?
Yeah, because you guys...
They got the farm system.
Media, I don't hear them talking about them as much as they should. It could be another 2020.
Yeah, look.
And it would be a Dodgers Rays.
They're an amazing development. Talk about the Rays. We know what they have within their system, and I definitely think they also should have been a team that was out there saying, "Hey, let's see what we could do." Look, you're right. I guess in the grand scheme of it, yeah, maybe the Tampa Bay Rays aren't talked about enough. 3.5 game lead in the AL East. They're legit.
Baseball should be played, not swinging for the mountains with two strikes and everybody striking out just because they get paid money to hit home runs and they don't.
I don't know how much that goes into the thought process of a guy at the plate, but I get where you're going with it. I appreciate the call. Listen, when it comes to the Tampa Bay Rays, and really every team throughout Major League Baseball, and maybe I'm looking at this, maybe I'm not looking deep enough into this, is how I would put it. When it comes to Tampa and what they've been this year, obviously a revelation. Yes, I agree with the sentiments of the last caller. Yeah, you probably should have gotten in on this in terms of going out and trying to acquire Skubal. But you know what Tampa was probably thinking? Uh, hmm, we don't want to spend money, so we're not going to trade for him. It's not in their DNA. It's not what they do. They don't go out and spend big money year in and year out. So if that was the potential drawback for them, saying, "Hey, why, potentially gut our farm system for a rental?" I totally get it. 310-840-4910 is the number. Let's go to Steve in Kansas City. What's going on, Steve? Good morning.
Hey, man, how's it going? Yeah, just to answer your first two original questions,
Yes, sir.
I don't think you can blame the Tigers here. They've really got no shot of running deep into the series this October, really. Realistically, I don't think there's a team that can really go head-to-head with the Dodgers for 7 games, maybe the Yankees. I'm a big Brewer fan, and I've seen even the years we continue to not make the big move, we could see October. We can't take these guys 7 games and get to the World Series. So I don't think you can blame them. I think I'm blaming people like Mark Antanasio, for example, on the Brewers for not making a move for Skubal. The reality is these small market teams, they've got one shot, and if they miss that, it could set them back another 5 to 7 years until they develop guys again.
Yeah, but
on
so
those guys they get up
Andrew
there.
and Carlos have kind of changed my thought process on this. When it comes to that organization in particular, you think about, how important their farm system is to them. They're another team that not known for going out and spending big time money, but they've done it before over the course of their franchise. They signed what was it that we were talking about? Was it CC Sabathia that they signed to a big time deal back in the day?
No,
They've shown
so
propensity.
the Brewers, in terms of trade deadline acquisitions, they were ones who made CC Sabathia a rental before he signed for the Yankees the following offseason. But yeah, the Brewers
they've
don't typically
learned.
go for these. Yeah, they typically don't make these deals. So getting
Yeah.
Skubal, they would have just treated it like a rental as well because they know they're going to let him walk at the end of the year.
Yeah. 310-840-4910 is the number. Let's continue to run through your calls here while we got them. Dave is in Wisconsin. What's going on, Dave? Good morning.
Well, hi, how you doing?
Doing good, man.
I was watching MLB Tonight last night, MLB Network.
Mm-hmm.
You ever watch it?
I do.
You listen to those guys because they're right. I don't know how many of those people on that show said he is going to Milwaukee. Jake Peavy, D-Row.
Via free
all them
agency, you're
people-
saying?
No, not free agency.
You're saying
They all
they predicted that they predicted the Brewers to make the trade last night.
Well, Jake Peavy said he's going to Milwaukee. I think the Tigers should have waited till tomorrow.
Till later today or tomorrow, right?
Yeah, because what the MLB Network said is they're looking at other teams to see what they can offer for this guy. And then all of a sudden he says, "Oh, I got something here." These 2 minor league pitchers, wherever the Dodgers farm team is, they were scratched. And I said, he is going to the Dodgers. That's all I had to know.
Yeah.
And he said, Adman Verk said, yes.
Real quick,
Figure that
do you
out.
look at this move as something that's bad for Major League Baseball in terms of the Dodgers
Yeah,
landing?
because and then I was listening to Eduardo Perez,
Mm-hmm.
and he said it would have been a bad thing if he would have went to Milwaukee because the people don't want to see him and Mizorowski together.
Well,
because it would
the hell
spoil,
with the people
it would spoil
think. I
the
think the people
Dodgers
should want
party.
to see that, by the way, and I appreciate the call. I think at the end of the day, the reason Milwaukee in particular wasn't in on this is because you can't gut your system potentially for a rental if you don't think you got the bag to re-sign him.
Yeah, if you have a problem with Mizorowski and Skubal being on the same team, How about Skubal, Snell, Glasnow, Yamamoto, and Otani?
Yeah,
Which one's the bigger problem if you're a casual baseball fan?
Yeah. 310-840-4910. You want to talk about a murderer's row. It's never an easy night at the plate when you're taking on the LA Dodgers, man. Rob is in Florida. I'm gonna wrap things up for us. Rob, what you got, man?
Lynnell, you're the man as usual.
What up,
The
dog?
question,
Yes, sir.
Lynnell, is it a good for baseball or not? If you're a moron, you like it. If you're smart, you say it's a disgrace for baseball.
Explain, brother.
How can you allow? Lynnell, how can you allow only the big market teams and you never have a chance when you're a smaller market team? A disgrace to baseball.
But here's the thing that I would say, and I hear where you're coming from. I think you're valid in your thought. How can you blame the Dodgers here? They're playing the game
You cannot blame
correct
them.
way.
Lynnell, you can't blame them at all. They can grab something like this because the stupid rules allow it. You can't blame them at all. Of course not.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out. Here's the other thing, too. Just because they made this move, just because their roster looks like what it looks like on paper, they're not guaranteed to win the World Series. You know, at the end of the day,
No,
you got to play
not
your
yet,
best
right?
baseball when the lights are super
Yep.
bright and in the postseason in October. And I think they'll be able to. And that's the Dodgers fan in me. Wink, wink.
What a murderous row. It's unbelievable. You can't, to be able to buy that and the smaller teams can't. It's so unfair. It's so pathetic unfair.
Stuff, man. Rob, I appreciate you as always, man. So fascinating where things currently stand right now. When it comes to the Major League Baseball trade deadline, Dodgers acquiring Tarek Skubal last night, top 30 prospect in the outfields. I hear hope, righty River Ryan, and righty Brady Smith going back to Detroit. Man, let's just look at this from the Dodgers standpoint. Here for a second. Look at this roster, dog. Shohei, Skubal, Mookie, Tucker, Max Muncy, Will Smith. You look at the rotation that they've got. They're doing what you're supposed to do when you got money. You know what I'm saying? And can I use this example? And I know it's very, very early in the morning to be using such a naughty example like this, but just bear with me, guys. You don't get veneers to not take a bunch of cheese in pictures. You feel what I'm saying? You're the Dodgers. You got money. You go spend it. You got veneers. Look, your mouth is wide open every time you're having a conversation. You're smiling at things that are sad. When you got a BBL, you're not sitting on your ass all the time. One, it would hurt. You got a BBL. You're on the damn beach in your bathing suit with your birthday suit on. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. I get it. The Dodgers are doing what they're supposed to do, man. I can't blame them. I feel like at all. This is what you do. The BBL analogy, I know, that was quite for 9:13 in the morning on a Sunday. I get it.
You need Jesus.
310-840-4910 is the number. Let's do this. We're going to continue to talk Major League Baseball in the final hour of the program. Make sure you continue to keep it locked right here on a Sunday morning sports with the youngest in charge. I do want to get into the National Football League. As I mentioned, I was out boots on the ground yesterday at Pittsburgh Steelers practice. And first and foremost, can I story tell a little bit, y'all? I'm not trying to make anyone jealous. Probably the coolest practice I've ever covered in my professional career yesterday. First and foremost, there were like 4 generations of Steelers fans out there yesterday. We got babies in strollers. We got great-grandparents in wheelchairs. Like everybody was out rooting for the black and gold. They're that type of organization. When you talk about the sustained success that they've had, you're born into your fandom. 110%, right? And, it was cool to see all those fans out there, the way that they filed in. That was my 4th training camp stop. It was the most kids that I had seen. Now, Washington, there was no fans at all. But as far as Baltimore and New York, a lot of kids yesterday out in Latrobe compared to those other 2 camps. And then just watching TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Herbig. There's a reason that's the best pass rush trio in the NFL. So here's how their practice setup kind of goes. And if you've been to an NFL training camp practice, you get it. when they do special teams, right? You normally, if you're not a special teams player, if you're not part of the core special teams group, you go to individuals. You work with your position coach. When they were doing special teams, I followed Watt, Herbig, Highsmith, just seeing them in the detail that they showed, repping each move, repping each part of each move. There's no surprise. You shouldn't be shocked that TJ Watt is arguably the best edge rusher in the world. He works, dog. And just standing next to him. Look, y'all know I'm a failed Division III football player. I'll tell you what yesterday did. Yesterday knocked right up on out my ass. I wouldn't stand a chance. I wouldn't stand a damn chance. There's part of me that feels like, you know what, man? I get in shape for about a month and a half. I hit the weights. I get on the protein, do my thing, get in good shape. I could be a little practice squad player. I'd be a backup. Not for the Steelers. Hot damn. They're going to be a really good football team, I think, coming up in 2026. As I mentioned yesterday morning, I think they've got the widest variance potentially of success of any team in the National Football League. I can see them being a 6-win team, season murked by injury, and then they kind of limp to the finish line. I could also see things, going great for them, and they punch their ticket all the way to like the conference title game. So in terms of just watching their practice, though, fouling the edge rushers was awesome. Jaquan Brisker, free agent acquisition for Pittsburgh from the Chicago Bears, Penn State alum, one of the best safeties in football. He did the coolest thing ever. He had a family reunion at Steelers practice yesterday. Over 130 family members rocking Jaquan Brisker shirts. He's from that area. I believe he grew up a Steelers fan. So seeing him get to come back in the area, having his family out there, that was super cool to see. Something like I've never seen before in my life. What else stood out yesterday from like a non-football standpoint? I was watching Aaron.
He is. We can't hear him. Let's go to break. Let's try to fix it in break.
Jerry Jones is all in and open to trading for a player.
I'd give up future to add to where we are today.
Will the Cowboys trade for Raiders star Max Crosby? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Lynnell Willingham.
Sunday morning sports continues with the youngest in charge, and I will again getting you up to 11 a.m. Eastern time. The big time news to start our show is from last night. If you're just now waking up with us, Skubal traded from the Detroit Tigers to the Los Angeles Dodgers. And there's some folks out there that are upset about the deal. Here are the terms of the trade. Detroit gets back top 30 outfield prospects. I hear Hope, right-handed pitcher River Ryan, and right-handed pitcher Brady Smith. People are slamming Detroit for the return that they ultimately got back, but also people are upset at the Dodgers. Jim Bouton, a former GM of the Washington Nationals, he's with CBS Sports, went on a angry old man rant about how this was terrible and this is why they need to implement a salary cap. I couldn't disagree anymore. Anyone saying that this has anything to do with the salary cap, like, what's wrong with you? This was the Dodgers being willing to go out and gut that farm system. That's what this is about. Yes, they have the ability to sign him to an extension in the offseason because they got the money. But so does every other team, man. Scared money don't make no money is the best way that I would put it, man. And I look at the Dodgers, and I don't think this trade is a byproduct of, oh, see, this is why we need a hard cap and a salary cap. No. There's parity right now in the sport, first and foremost. That's what matters more than anything. If you're a commissioner of a pro sports league, you know that's what should matter the most to you. In the NBA, what is it, man? 8 different NBA champions. Or was that the National Football League? We've had 8 different Super Bowl champions in the past 8 years.
I think that applies to the NBA as well. Like, we haven't had a repeat champion since the Warriors.
Pro sports. You all pick up what I'm putting down here. Major League Baseball's got that parity too. 24 of the 30 teams are within 4 games of a wild card spot. So, like, there's a lot of parity right now in Major League Baseball. I think it's great for the sport. Anyone, bitching and moaning and groaning about the salary cap, like, stop that. Here's the reality of the situation, man. And I say this all the time when it comes to, a potential hard cap in Major League Baseball. First and foremost, the players should not and will not consider or concede to a cap. It's not happening. I'm telling you, if this is what it's going to come down to, just like we saw in the 90s, and we know just based off of their ridiculous involvement in the world of college athletics, we know the government ain't got no damn issue stepping in making Major League Baseball have a season next year. They can go to arbitration and have the ruling or an injunction imposed to where they got to play. That's how I see them getting on the field next year. I don't think it's going to be because they come to terms on an agreement. I don't think that happens because the issue at hand is so polarizing. It would be unprecedented. And if you're the players, not only are you screwing the current guys, you're screwing the guys coming up behind you. This is a bigger systemic problem that exists right now with Major League Baseball in terms of the players conceding to a cap. It's not going to happen. I don't give it a shot at all. 310-840-4910 is the number if you want to chime in on the Skubal deal. I mentioned I was out yesterday at Pittsburgh Steelers camp. I got the chance to catch up with their 2 earliest draft picks. First-round pick Max Ihanachor out of Arizona State, and their second-round wide receiver Jeremy Bernard out of the University of Alabama. Jeremy Bernard, the later of the 2 picks, higher on the depth chart right now. He's currently the wide receiver 3 in Pittsburgh. Here is Jeremy Bernard, the Alabama product, talking about his first camp with the Steelers.
All right, practice number 3 in the books for the Pittsburgh Steelers here at training camp. I'm here with rookie wide receiver Jeremy Bernard after practice number 3. I was talking to you off the record, man. What do you think the coaches like about your game to where they're giving you reps with this first team already?
I think they just know that, I'm versatile. I know the playbook. I know, my responsibility. They know I'm going to give everything I can for the team and let my players have success. I'm a selfless player, so, I just make the most of my opportunity that they give me and just continue to work and get better, ask questions, be a sponge.
Have any of your teammates told you that you're like a football angel? To get to go from Alabama to Pittsburgh with the Steelers, man, 2 of the most first-class organizations at the collegiate level and the pro level.
Yeah.
What are some of the similarities, man, between the programs?
Man, just like the culture and then the fan base is the most unique thing. Like the way that they support, the way that they come out to practices and, how much they show love. Like that's been something that I've been in for the last 2 years, and to be able to come to an organization like that is just a blessing.
You got a Hall of Famer under center. Was there ever a point in time where you was like, hold the hell up, man, this is Aaron freaking Rodgers that's throwing me the football?
Yeah, most definitely. It's definitely a surreal moment. So,
how's y'all relationship building?
It's been good. He coaches me up. We talk off the field. He teaches me in every moment that he can. I go and I ask him questions, and we just continue to build that trust that we need on the field.
You also share the room with one of the most decorated wide receivers in the NFL, in DK Metcalf. Unique personality, guy that's super passionate, wears it on the sleeve. What have you learned from DK, and how has your relationship formed since the spring?
Yeah, man. I mean, off the field, he's just like a good friend. You know what I mean? Like, he's always there to support you. He's always trying to give his input whenever he can. He's gonna help you become a better football player. Learning the game and everything. He has a lot of years under his belt, so he knows how the game goes, and so he just tells me to go out there, be confident in what I'm doing. He knows that I know my responsibilities, and I'm going to make the most of my opportunities whenever those times come. But it's just been great being able to learn from each of them. Michael Pittman, Rome, and also DK. So it's been great having all those guys in the room.
A vet room, and with something light, man. I don't know how much you follow the NBA. Crazy offseason. LeBron on the move.
Honestly, I don't.
Really?
Not for real.
Wow.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Were you not good at basketball when you was?
No, I hoop, but I'm not. So, like, I like to be outside and doing stuff. Like, that's how
Okay.
I was when I was younger. So I never really paid attention to, like, NBA. I watched NFL a little bit. My thing is college football. I love to watch college football.
For sure. Jeremy, appreciate you making some time for me as always, brother.
For sure.
I was absolutely stunned when he said that. I said, brother, what, you lying? I thought he was playing with me, man. First and foremost, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Westwood One Sports Night, to get the visual element of that interview and also exclusive training camp coverage for my training camp tour throughout this training camp, man. It has been absolutely awesome to be out there, boots on the ground at camp. I want to double-click on Jeremy Bernard for a second. I am so intrigued by what he could bring, to that offense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Already getting first-team reps, as we mentioned, as the number 3 wide receiver. Pittsburgh's offense, man, at the receiver spot, DK, Pittman, Freiermuth, Jeremy Bernard, Jalen Warren out of the backfield as a weapon, Darnell Washington as a weapon, as a tight end. The Steelers, I don't want to go as far as to say they're, like, disrespected. I don't think anyone's disrespecting them. I just think people are not using the full extent of their imagination. And when I use the word imagination, it sounds like they're just mid. But you pick up what I put down. I don't think football fans are accepting enough of the reality that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like I said, they can be a 6-win team that's old as hell and limps to the finish line, or they could be a team that goes all the way to the conference championship. I think they've got, that sort of talent. With Jeremy Bernard, he talked about the relationship with Aaron Rodgers. The reason I asked that question is because he unprompted, brought that up during the springtime, mandatory minicamp OTAs, just about, his relationship with Aaron Rodgers and the chance to be able to take the practice field with him each and every day and picking his brain, learning from him. Obviously, a surreal opportunity. He's going to have a big role in this offense. He is. And we mentioned it yesterday on the show. The biggest Achilles heel, I thought, for the Steelers last year was the fact that, they could not consistently generate explosive plays offensively. And I'm not just talking about them pushing the ball vertically. They ran this very horizontal, making plays after the catch. That did not happen consistently enough. It just didn't. This time around, making a more concerted effort to push it vertically, adding a guy like Michael Pittman, who's a known deep threat, it should be better. The other thing is this. Can I say something without you all judging me? We family here on Westwood One Sports, man. So, y'all know I haven't worn my earrings in a while. I got my ears pierced. It was a big thing in my household for my aunt and uncle to, decide whether or not they were going to let me and my brother get our ears pierced. They started off with one ear. We wasn't allowed to get 2 at first because, my uncle just wasn't playing that. He thought he didn't like it. But when it came to the earrings, man, that was my swag. That was my stuff. I also had a mohawk. You remember the era of the mohawk fade? Y'all remember that? This is when I was in 8th grade, 9th grade. It was that and the Duke starting 5. In terms of the haircut, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, you had the Mohawks and the faux hawks for a little bit too.
Did you ever had a hawk, brother?
I had a faux hawk. I didn't have the Mohawk.
Faux hawk. What about you, Andrew? You ever had a Mohawk, bro?
Not yet.
Andrew, you got some lettuce on your head, man. You got a nice, thick, full head of hair.
You might need a Mohawk right now.
I'm about to say, I guess I shouldn't say he's got a head of lettuce because that means there could be parasites in his head. So that's
his hair got the runs.
It's not ideal, pal. It's not ideal. 310-840-4910. I bring up the earring situation for this reason. Rico Dowdle, new member of the backfield for the Pittsburgh Steelers, change of pace back, somebody that's going to bring a physical element to their running game to complement Jalen Warren, who y'all know how I feel about him. He has turned into one of the best, I don't want to even call him a third down back, one of the best receiving backs, complete backs, I would say, in all the NFL. He pass protects. He's a weapon out of the backfield. He's a weapon in between the tackles and outside of the tackles. I think he's a dog. His teammate, Rico Dowdle, though, I'll go back to him. Rico's a tough dude. This is going to sound like I'm being prejudiced. And maybe it's because I am. In the NFL, man, whenever I see a dread-headed running back, good God almighty, they run through your face mask. Marion Barber, Marshawn Lynch, Rico Dowdle, Eddie Lacy. I'm blanking. Every damn, I said it for a reason, every damn dreadhead running back that you see, I don't know if it's something that angers them during the retwist process or what, but they run angry and mad. You know what I'm saying? Carlos, you know what I'm talking about, bro.
No, it's funny because
running backs go hard.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like Steven Jackson when he was like in his.
Bro. Come on, man. Man, being a Redskin.
The tighter the cornrow, the harder they're hitting the A gap. You know.
There's no cap though, man. Can you imagine how? And I had an era where I had twists in my hair, so I know how that feels. But I brought up Rico Dowdle. I'm building him up to sit him back down. He's got like a face piercing, y'all. If you're watching on the YouTube stream, I'm pointing at where he's got a piercing at and a diamond. He's got a dermal. I think that's what that's called. Normally women get back dimples pierced because it's like sexy. Why he has a face piercing, I have no clue. Does it make me judge their backfield in a way that maybe I shouldn't? Absolutely. 310-840-4910. Rico got a standing ovation when he ran out onto the practice field yesterday. Fans were geeked up to see him. You know who else the fans were geeked up to see? The Steelers used their richest capital of the offseason on an offensive tackle, Max Ihanachor, out of Arizona State. To me, he was the best pass-protecting tackle in the entire class. Raw, didn't start playing football, I believe, till he was in high school or 8th grade. Really sweet feet. Really nice young man, too, man. Me and him was cracking jokes with one another, and that was cool. He's a dog. But it's interesting. He's a first-round pick, guys. Not a starter right now. And that Steelers offensive line, I believe he was drafted as kind of like insurance for Broderick Jones because there was some uncertainty about his neck moving forward. So I think that's why they ultimately pulled the trigger on him. But, man, when you look at that Steelers offensive line, as I mentioned yesterday morning on the show, they're going to make or break this team. It's a good group from Fatanu to Mason McCormick. Zach Frazier is somebody that's got all-pro potential. I love it, man. Maxie Hanachor, though, got the chance to catch up with him post-practice. Here's what he said into his first week of NFL training camp.
Lynnell Willingham here with Steelers rookie Maxie Hanachor after a training camp practice here at Latrobe out at the campus of St. Vincent. Rookie year, brother, coming into an organization that, you know, is one of the richest in the NFL in terms of tradition, history, culture. How has it been your first couple of days in Steelers camp, man, being a Steeler?
It's been a blessing, man, be able to share the field with a great group of guys, man. I think the guys in our O-line room, they're all bought in, young, but, you know, we come here every day to work, push each other every day. It's been really fun coming out here and work with them.
Competitive group along the offensive line, some young cats as well. How is the bond off the field kind of, you know, continued to, you know, play itself out since the spring?
I think it's pretty good. Unlike I think any other group really on the team, we're young.
Yeah.
You know, everybody don't got kids, don't got to rush home to go to their kids. So, I mean, we hang out.
Yeah.
Over the past offseason, we were able to go to Zach Frazier camp. He took us to back home, West Virginia.
Okay.
It's like an hour away. We spent some time with him for a couple of days, you know, did a lot of fun stuff. It just shows that, you know, we're just bought in, ready to just build a relationship and work.
For sure. How many reps have you gotten in team getting to go up against the trio of rushers that you guys had between Highsmith, Herbig, and TJ?
I think I've gotten quite a few reps. You know, just being able to go out there doing this. They're all similar, but very different in their own ways. You know, until the pads really come on, but just be able to get a feel of them and just, you know, them catching me up to the speed of, like, you know, edge rushers in the league. So it's been really fun so far.
When y'all broke for the spring, what was the message from your position coach and the staff on what do they want you to work on coming back?
I'll definitely say just dialing your playbook. You know, it was a big break, kind of like for me, 7 weeks. Just dialing your playbook and make sure you come back ready to run. You know, don't come back out of shape. It's different. I just came out of college, so I went back to college to train with them throughout the whole summer break. So it was really, you know, nothing changed really for me. I went back with them, trained, lifted, you know, just to stay ready for now.
I asked you a little fun question to end things. How close do you follow the NBA, first and foremost? Not much at all, huh? So I asked your rookie brethren, Jeremy Bernard, the same thing. He said the same. Y'all must not be able to hoop. You ain't him. He told me he could hoop. Can you at least hoop, though, Max?
I could hoop.
What you playing? What you playing? Power forward? You playing center?
Point guard. Big guard.
Big guard university. Max, I appreciate you, dog. We'll catch up soon, man.
Max Ihanachor, man, he is going to turn into, you can tell by the personality he's got, he's going to be one of the most fun interviews in all in the NFL. I put a little bug in his ear. Hopefully we can get him or Jeremy to join us during the NFL season. Speaking of the NFL season, man, it is going to be here before we know it. We got the opening game of the NFL regular season on a Wednesday night rematch of the Super Bowl. You realize we have a football game this week, right? This is our last weekend. It's our last weekend until February without the NFL. Let's go, baby. 310-840-4910 is the number. I want to let you hear from my spirit animal coming up on the other side of the break. Indiana Hoosiers head coach Curt Cignetti popping it at Big Ten Media Day. I want to ask this question. What is more important in today's day and age of college football? A guy that can motivate and recruit, or an X's and O's tactician? We'll take your calls on that, let you hear from Curt Cignetti, and I'll answer the question next here on Westwood One Sports.
Bucs QB Baker Mayfield doesn't have a new contract, and D lineman Vita Vea requested a trade. Will the Bucs stars be jumping ship? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Lynnell Willingham.
Yes, indeedy. You're the big voice guy. Sunday morning sports with the youngest in charge continues here on Westwood One Sports, getting you up to 11 a.m. Eastern time. Got a couple more calls filing in on the Tariq Skubal deal. If you're just now joining us, that's the big time news that we got here on the program. Clearly the biggest news in the world of pro sports, man. Carlos with the K, I'm going to chime in here and pick up on the conversation that we were having during the break. This thing says 7 hours and 46 minutes. I don't know what the hell is happening and why it's taking so long to do that, but bear with me on that, my brother. If y'all are just joining us, though, man, appreciate y'all locking in. First and foremost, we just let you hear from Maxie Honachor and Jeremy Bernard, rookies for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Two rookies that I'm expecting to have a pretty big impact on what the Steelers are in 2026. If you missed any of that conversation, go to our YouTube account, subscribe to Westwood One Sports Night to get our YouTube exclusive content from NFL training camps. As my NFL training camp tour continues tomorrow in the city of brotherly love with the Philadelphia Eagles. We got a chat from YouTube, N712 Hockey 2. I wonder what your favorite sport is. Asked the question, does the Skubal
Volleyball.
Does the Skubal deal basically ensure we're getting locked out for all of 27 and 28, as was mentioned in the papers today? Y'all know that's how I feel. I can see it now. It's it's June the 14th, and we all just finished watching the Dallas Wings versus the Indiana Fever. And it was in marquee primetime television. And everybody across the country is watching it because there's no baseball to watch. I'm telling you all, man. Montel Vontavious Porter once famously said, "I'm coming. Nobody can stop me. Nobody can hold me. Never, ever control me."
United States,
That's the
United
WNBA.
States champion great.
Yes, sir. One of the
Remember
greatest
him
US
and Matt Hardy?
Hey, man, what a time. His career is fascinating, by the way. I see he's still hanging around. He's one of the most talented, athletes that WWE's ever
He went
had,
away
man.
for a little bit,
Shout
too.
out to him. He did. Dibble and dabble and some other things. But that's the WNBA's energy. I'm coming. Our popularity is raising. People care about our sport. And when Major League Baseball trips and we're in a situation where they locked out, guess what we're going to be watching? Just guess. The W. James Jones says, yeah, it's baseball. I just put it to sleep. That's a crazy way to look at it. 310-840-4910. If you're just joining us, didn't hear my thoughts on the Skubal deal. Not a great look if you're the Tigers. I don't like the message that you send to your clubhouse, trading your best player when you're within 2.5 games of a wild card spot. I know what y'all are going to say. Oh, the arbitration, and they're not going to be able to sign him to an extension. They know that. I'm going to use the analogy I used earlier. I'm the bachelor here on Westwood One Sports. I've been rejected. The word that we use in 2026, and I teach y'all some OGs out there because I love hearing from y'all. The word is curved. I've been curved. I'm not saying that like I've got some like banging physique. No, it's not the curves I'm talking about. I've been curved several times by females out there in the world. I know if you're watching on the YouTube stream, you're thinking, how does that handsome fella get rejected by a female? I know. It's tough. When you get curved, though, sometimes you gotta read the room based on your history with the person that curves you. You double back. You spin the bin one time and make sure, hey, that's really how you feel? Baby girl or baby boy? If I'm the Tigers, that's what I'm doing. We're 2.5 games out. And think about the time that he missed, the stint that he had on the IL. If that doesn't happen and he's able to make those starts, maybe they are, have a stranglehold on that final wild card spot. So if I'm them, I'm not getting rid of a player of his magnitude. One, I would have waited till the very final moment. I would have had that Dodgers deal in my back pocket, and I would have turned it in to the league offices right at the final moments, because I would have seen what else I could get. Was Milwaukee going to enter this? Was Philadelphia going to enter this conversation? Were the Yankees going to ultimately enter this conversation? Were the Nationals going to enter this conversation? 310-840-4910. I just think overall, people are saying that, yeah, the Dodgers only made this trade because they knew that they could potentially re-sign him. It's not guaranteed, guys. No guarantee. No guarantee that he ultimately gets re-signed by the LA Dodgers. Let's go to Greg in Michigan. Wanting to chime in. Greg, what's going on, man?
Lynnell, Mr. Positive, everybody, go for your dreams. I used to wear a diamond-studded carat diamond in my left ear. I hear you're very muscular. The rings or the earrings are going to look great on you, big fella. And here's the thing
I appreciate you, man.
You betcha. I cannot believe that my Warriors in Detroit wanted to get rid of him. Here's the thing. What is the objective for the Detroit Tigers and any team in baseball? To win the World Series. Now you're stacking the Los Angeles Dodgers where arguably no one is going to be able to beat them. What are we thinking, America? I mean, the Dodgers are going to win a three-peat, if you will. So whatever we do in Detroit, we're not going to go far. We're not going to win. Everybody in Detroit, every radio personality on 97.1 The Ticket thinks that it was a great idea. Well, what is our objective? To win the World Series. And we're not going to win this World Series. I know I'm Mr. Positive, and I want everyone to go
can I
for
chime
their
in here
dreams.
real quick, because I know that is your favorite team, so I know your perspective is appreciated on this. The thing that I was saying, I don't know how long you've been tapped into the show this morning. Why now? Why not later this afternoon, tonight, tomorrow? Work the phones if you're a GM. That's your job.
Right. Oh, Lynnell, spot on. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you as always, man. We got time to go north of the border? Let me check the clock here, because every time we go north of the border, you know those Canadians are long-winded. Let's go. I got Billy in Toronto. Billy, what's up, baby?
Listen, Lynnell, no problem at all, this fella going to the L.A. Dodgers. I mean, first of all, he's had 2 Tommy John surgeries. He has not pitched well this year, and he's been hurt a third time. L.A. can have them.
Wait.
There's a team
He ain't had
north
no
of the
Tommy
border.
John before, has he?
He's had 2 of them. 2 of them, I'm pretty sure. Check that out. I'm pretty sure he's.
You're thinking of somebody else, clearly. I think.
No, I'm not thinking of anybody else. But I'll tell you this:
Yeah,
that LA
real
Dodgers
quick.
team was stacked pretty good last year too. And a certain team north of the border took them to Game 7.
I knew where that was going. I appreciate you as always. Got to let you run as we're up against the clock here. Final hour of power coming up. Matt Verderam, SI Now, joins us next.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Lynnell Willingham.
Yes, indeed, you heard the big voice guy. Sunday morning sports with the youngest in charge, Lynnell Willingham, getting you up to 11 a.m. Eastern time. That means this is the final hour of power here on the program. Appreciate you all locking in however you choose to do so. You can check us out on one of our over 200 plus affiliates out there nationwide. We encourage you to check out our YouTube stream as well. Make sure you subscribe to Westwood One Sports Night on YouTube for our exclusive training camp coverage as my training camp tour continues tomorrow, taking a trip to the city of brotherly love, checking in on an Eagles team that y'all know how I feel about Philly, man. A team that probably has the widest variance of any team in the NFL. I can see the Eagles being a 6-win team. I can see the Eagles also punching their ticket to the Super Bowl. So it's going to be interesting. Let's see what our guy Matt Verderam thinks of the Philadelphia Eagles. He joins us right now on the guest hotline by way of SI Now. If you want to keep the conversation rolling with him on social media, it is at Matt Verderam. Matt, appreciate you making some time for us, brother.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yes, indeedy, man. I believe this is our second time locking in with one another. Let's get right into the Kansas City Chiefs, if you don't mind. They're, to me, one of the most fascinating teams in the NFL in terms of, what are they going to be, right? I know a lot of people continue to compare this version of the Chiefs, this era of the Chiefs, to kind of, the New England Patriots when Tom Brady and company had to retool and figure out different ways to win. When you look at this Kansas City team objectively, what do you think is the biggest strength of KC, the biggest weakness, and then how do you see 26 falling for that group?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions. The way you describe the Eagles is a similar way to how I describe them, where I'd say they can miss the playoffs, they can win a Super Bowl, and I think everything in between is possible. The biggest strength is, if he's healthy, is Mahomes, in the sense that, look, they brought in Kenneth Walker. They brought Eric Bieniemy back from Chicago, where, look, when Bieniemy was there the first time, they won a couple of Super Bowls. They ran the ball about middle of the pack. Last couple of years, they've been more in the bottom quarter of the league, bottom 8 teams. And they also ran a lot more play action under Bieniemy. And I think with Walker coming in, with Bieniemy coming back, Mahomes coming off the knee surgery, they're going to rely on an offensive line that includes Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey and Josh Simmons to really pound the ball, set up some of those intermediate throws. I think the offense has a chance to be much, much better than it's been the last few years, even with some receivers that, there are questions about, like Xavier Worthy. The biggest question I have about them is their pass rush. Last year, they could not get a pass rush outside of Chris Jones and George Karlaftis. If it wasn't one of those two guys, nobody could touch the quarterback. They drafted Peter Woods in the first round, D-tackle out of Clemson. They drafted Mason Thomas, 40th overall out of Oklahoma. And they're relying on those guys to be good. And I think if you got them in an honest moment and said, look, if one of them makes an impact, is that what you need? The answer is probably yes. But that's the big thing. I think they're going to be back in that mix in the AFC. I don't think you can make them the prohibitive favorite like you could some years, but I think they'll be an 11, 12-win team. I think they'll be in that mix with Buffalo and Baltimore and Houston. And I think a lot of it's going to come down to how available is Rashee Rice, how healthy is Mahomes, how well do their top 4 rookies who are all defensive picks, how well do they play? And that probably will determine their season.
Certainly feels like Stephon Diggs could be getting a phone call. I saw a tweet yesterday, Xavier Worthy having to leave practice. I want to double-click on what you said, though, about that pass rush, man.
Yep.
This is the fascinating piece of it and why I'm confident in it working. Said the first time the Spags and company have had to rely on youth on that defense. You remember when those secondary guys were drafted and during that Super Bowl run, and they were playing rookies at safety and corner, and the impact that they were able to have. Peter Woods, man, is a ball of butcher knives rolling downhill. I think Clemson's lack of team success led to him sliding. Huge R. Mason Thomas fan. I like what they have in the pass rush, as you mentioned. It's going to be huge. They lost Leo Chenal, Matt, to Washington, and I'm not saying that just to brag on my Commanders, but I'm saying it like how do you think it impacts that Kansas City defense, man? Who do you see kind of filling that void?
Yeah, it does. It does impact him. I mean, he was always a guy who played around 50% of the snaps because they have Bolton out there who's going to play every snap, and then they have Tranquil who plays most of them. They play a lot of 2 linebacker looks, but when they go to 3, my guess is you're going to see second-year guy Jeffrey Boss in there. He was at Oregon in college. He was a converted safety. So he's a coverage backer. He's a guy who they want in space. Because, to your point about when they draft those guys in secondary in 2022, that was the year they brought McDuffie and Jalen Watson in. Like that was a very similar year to this. And people forget this now because they won back-to-back Super Bowls out of that. A lot of people that year picked them to finish last in the West. That was the year the Raiders brought in Devontae Adams and the Broncos brought in Russell Wilson. And it was the year where the Chiefs had lost Tyrann Mathieu and Tyreek Hill and Charvarius Ward. And they basically made a bet that we can draft our way back. And they did it because not only did those secondary guys come in, so did Chenal, so did Brian Cook, so did George Karlaftis. And it took about half a year for them to really figure it out defensively. But once they did, they were fantastic. And this is a similar thing where if you watch them last year, the one thing that always came to mind when you watch their defense is slow. They cannot run. They have no speed in that front seven. Now, all of a sudden, you add a lot of youth and athleticism. And Boss is another guy. Look, is he going to be as good as Leo Chenal? Probably not. Chenal's a very nice player. But he's another guy. He can run. He can cover. He can hit, which is something that they just sorely lacked last year. They had a lot of older players just trying to fit into spots that, frankly, they were probably a little overmatched by. Early in the year, that defense might take a little while, but if you look at their schedule early, their first 10 weeks, they do not play a lot of top-end offenses. It's a lot of teams that they can probably score 24 points and win the game. And if you're the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, you should score 24 points every game you play.
Right. I agree with you, man. In terms of that sentiment, looking at the early portion of the schedule. They open up on Monday Night Football against Denver. I just look at the defenses that they play. Early on, Denver twice in the first 7 weeks, or the first 8 weeks, you got Seattle. But then to your point, Indy, Miami, Vegas. I think the Chargers are the biggest frauds. Can we actually talk about the Chargers and stay in this division for a second? I don't know what it is about America's love affair with the L.A. Chargers, and everyone's geeking over the bromance between, Mike McDaniel and Coach Harbaugh. The reality is with that group, this is time for them to, as I like to say, Matt, shake a leg or lose one. They got to win a postseason game. They got to get over the hump. Is this the year that it happens?
No. And you and I maybe are in lockstep on this. Look, I did a lot of our SI predictions for the magazine that comes out in 2 weeks, and I had the Chargers missing the playoffs. And one of the reasons I've missing the playoffs is, I look at the Chargers, and everybody talks about how this team is going to be the Super Bowl contending team. I guess the most basic way I can put this is why. Like, what is the reason? What is the reason? Like, what is the thing? Yeah. I think Justin Herbert's a very good quarterback. I think he's extremely talented. He's never won a playoff game. He's been atrocious in every single one he's ever been in. All of them. All three of them. He's been awful. Harbaugh, I think, is a very, very good coach, and he was a great coach at college. He hasn't had an NFL success story in 15 years. Now, I understand a lot of that he was in Michigan. The Chargers have doubled and tripled down on the idea that we're just going to run the ball and run the ball and run the ball and run the ball and we're going to throw 25 times a game. And in this day and age, even though I think the sport is swinging back toward more under center, run the ball some more, you need to have the ability to challenge teams with the pass game. Like we just talked about the Chiefs and Kenneth Walker. That's all fine and well, but that doesn't work if Mahomes isn't throwing to Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy and stretching the field. None of that works. The Chargers, listen, you should be able to run the ball. You get your tackles back. Still don't love the interior of the line, but you have your tackles back. You brought in Charlie Coley. You brought in Alex Ingalls. Yeah, you're going to run the football. But when it's time to drop back and throw, when it's 3rd and 8, teams are just going to say, look, man, nobody outside scares you. It's Trey Harris, Quentin Johnston. Like, no one cares. In a playoff game, they're just going to say, look, we're going to roll a safety over McConkey. We're going to bracket him. He's not getting open. Go ahead and beat us on the outside. Do it. Yeah. And they can't. And defensively, they lose OA, who I think is a really nice player. They lose him for a guy that they traded a load to Gilman, who's a good safety, who then goes to Kansas City in free agency. And you look at them, and it's like, okay, Tui Tuipulotu is fantastic. Who's the other guy in that front seven who you look at and think that guy's a problem for an opposing team? 35
doesn't exist. Maybe Deion Hanley.
And I like Henley, but he's not going to impact the pass rush. Right?
Exactly.
He's a really nice off-ball linebacker. But I just look at the Chargers. Every book I see, the Chiefs are slight favorites in the division. Then it's the Chargers, then it's the Broncos. And I got to tell you, if I was a Broncos fan, I would be like, why in the world are the Chargers getting better odds than we are to win this division? Like, I just don't. I know why it's a quarterback, but Herbert has not won anything. I mean, I get on Lamar and Josh Allen about not winning stuff. I mean, those guys at least won playoff games.
Right.
Yeah, I am not a big fan of the Chargers.
And even talk about Bo. Like, I think Bo's. I was gonna say he's big time, Matt, but then that felt too bullish. I think there's a lot of meat on that bone, is what I would say in terms of what he could be. I love what he is as an athlete. I thought last postseason he played really well. If he doesn't fracture his ankle, there's a real shot that they win the Super Bowl. So I agree with you.
I think they at least go to
the way that. Right, exactly. I agree that they're getting a little bit disrespected. I wanted to ask you. I'm glad you brought up Buffalo. They're fascinating to me, Matt. I look at football as it's a very simple game. The reality is about Buffalo, Josh Allen lost them that football game against the Denver Broncos, yet it was Sean McDermott that was fired. Joe Brady's got a lot of pressure on him. They added to the skill group, bringing in DJ Moore. I like that move for them. I like them bringing in Bradley Chubb to help that pass rush. I just don't know what to expect out of the Bills, man. Regular season's great, but they're a team now like Baltimore and some other teams in the AFC, Matt. I don't care what you do during the months of September to December. What do you do in January?
Yeah, I mean, that's it, right? I mean, to your point, those two teams. And I think Houston's kind of entering that territory. Like, look, that's great. You win all these games in regular season. How's it looking in January and February? Because at some juncture here, you got to win. And Baltimore and Buffalo have been banging on the door now for the better part of a decade. And they haven't been able to do it. Like, I will say this about the Bills. The Bills, I agree, are a fascinating team. Like, if you ask me who's the team with the least amount of questions in the AFC, because Mahomes is coming off the knee and the Chiefs are coming off a year where everything went wrong, I think you almost are compelled to say Buffalo. But at the same point, you know, they have a coach right now in Joe Brady who most of their fans wanted fired as their offensive coordinator all year last year because they just kept complaining about the fact that they'd never throw the ball down the field, that everything was short, that everything was underneath. And it was an offense that was productive, but it was also an offense that kind of caps Allen in the way he can play, which is why he hasn't gone for 4,000 yards in the last two seasons. Look, defensively, to me, the defense is the big question because you're going from a 4-3 to a 3-4. Jim Leonard comes in, and I don't care who you are, I don't care how good of a coordinator you are. When you're changing personnel like that because you're changing the scheme, some guys are going to fit, but a lot of guys are not. There's just certain guys who it's just a weird thing. All of a sudden, hey, you were a 4-3 D tackle, now you're a 3-4 end. That's a different job. That's a much different job. And so, look, I think the Bills will be there. I think the Bills are going to be in January. I think they're going to be a contender. But, you know, look, a lot of this is going to ride on how does that defense come together? How does Brady change it all, or is it still the same offense? And then, look, let's also be honest. Allen, in my opinion, has some of the best PR I've ever seen in my life. I think he's a spectacular player. I have also never seen a guy get bigger passes for having just horrendous moments in playoff games. Last year against Denver, if he doesn't fumble the ball in one of the worst plays you'll ever see before halftime, they win. They win the game. That was – everybody talks about the pick or the pick that wasn't to DJ Moore. Or to Brandon Cooks. He also missed Knox wide open to end the game at the end of the fourth quarter. I mean, on a throw that you just got to hit if you're an NFL player. I mean, he's wide open. And so, look, I think Allen is absolutely a Hall of Fame level player. All that's true. But at some point, you've got to be that guy when it matters the most. And that has been kind of the difference in the AFC since all these quarterbacks came in. I mean, Mahomes has always been that guy in huge spots. And Lamar and Allen have often not been. Herbert's never been. And that's why one of them has all the rings and the other guys are all still looking for their first one.
I got Matt Verderam, SI Now, joins us right now here on Sunday Morning Sports with Lynnell Willingham, right here on Westwood One Sports. Man, there's so many different places I want to go with you, and we're starting to run out of time here. Let's ask you about one of the big hot-button stories of the week. Baker Mayfield popping it, Matt Verderam, at the podium, letting it all hang out, wearing his emotions on his sleeves when talking about, his contract negotiation with Tampa.
Yep.
How do you kind of make out that situation? Because I think Baker, for as good as he was last year, in the first 6, 7, 8 weeks, MVP candidate. The year prior, he was a real legit MVP candidate. Matt, I don't know if I'm just being, it's because he's a smaller quarterback. I'm being prejudiced towards him. I think he's a quarterback similarly to like Brock Purdy, Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff, quarterbacks that you win with, not quarterbacks that you win because of. How would you kind of be, how do you view that contract negotiation with him in Tampa and his value there?
Yeah, I think a couple of weeks ago I did my going into the season quarterback rankings at SI, and I had Baker, I think it was like 15th, might have been 14th. It was right. It was just above the average line, if you will. And I wrote a column about what he said at the presser a couple of days ago, and my take was basically he's had a good stint in Tampa. He's gone to 2 Pro Bowls. They've been a playoff team a couple of times. They won a playoff game. They went 8-9 last year, and they started 5-1. They beat Seattle. They beat the Niners. They beat the Texans. They went 3-8 to finish out the season, and he threw 14 touchdowns and 10 picks over that span. Like, you can't sit there in that division, which is basically like the MAC, okay? not win it, not win the division, and then come back after you played horrendously for 3 solid months and go, hey, look, also I need to get paid. No, you
Show
don't.
me the money too.
Are you kidding me? I mean, if I were the Buccaneers, the other part of this too, that gets lost. If I'm Jason Light, if I'm the GM in Tampa, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, he's going to be 32 after the season. I'm not going to pay him right now because if he has a great year, we can always just tag him. And if he doesn't have a great year, then he can leave, and we're going to get a 3rd-round comp pick out of this. And, oh, by the way, this incoming class of quarterbacks is ridiculous. Yep. And I'm not going to be because, like, if you're the Bucs, and you extend him right, and they go out and they're awful, and they're 6-11 this season, and you've got the 9th overall pick. Well, now you can't draft the quarterback. You just extended him for 3 years. So if I'm Light, I'm sitting there going, look, I'm going to have my optionality here. I'm going to have the choice of what I want to do, and if that means tagging you, cool. If that means letting you go, fine. But I'm not locking into some massive $50-60 million a year contract after he just went 8-9 and played atrociously for the last 3 months of the season.
To play devil's advocate on how Tampa finished last year, they gave up 28 or more points in 4 out of their final 8 games of the season, too, now. How much blame do you put on the defense? I think that we may be seeing wholesale changes there at season's end. I look at this as like a last dance almost for Tampa.
Oh, I put a lot of it on the defense. Their defense was horrendous. But, I mean, I guess I would also point to if you're a quarterback that's willing to get paid that or supposed to get that kind of money in that division, bro, you've got to win a couple of these games. Like, I don't care.
Just
like,
on your own, right?
Go score 31 against New Orleans. I don't care. Like, go find a way to do that. And, yeah, I agree with you. Look, their defense was brutal, and I don't think it's going to be much better this year. They lost Levante David. Alex Anzalone comes over. Muhammad comes over from the line. These are guys 31 years old. I don't know what you're getting out of them. So I'm not exactly buying the ton of stock.
It's that pass rush to me, though, Matt. It felt like last year they couldn't consistently impact the quarterback. I know they're hoping Ruben Bain comes in as hell on wheels.
Right. And I like Bain, but I mean, I agree. They've gotten old. They've gotten old in the front seven.
Yes.
Vita Vea's terrific, but he's another guy. He's over 30. Now, all these guys are talking about are all over 30. They're hoping that Trotter and Bain come in and make a huge difference, and that's probably their ticket to getting back to being a team that can win 10, 11 games. But it's tough. Evans, he's gone. Godwin's older. I mean, they're a team. Mayfield's on the wrong side 30. They're a team that, quite honestly, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they kind of reset that thing after the season.
Man, it makes you – and if that was the mentality, when you think about the job security of the GM, Jason Light, one of the best talent evaluators in football, he's going to get, his fair share to retool this thing from the ownership group. I might have just moved Baker this offseason. When you think about some of the teams that were left at the altar without a guy, Matt, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
fascinating. It's fascinating. Matt, I appreciate you making some time for us, man, here on a Sunday morning. I know you're just as excited as I am, man, to get fully into this NFL season, man. We will touch base a lot during the NFL season, man. Love catching up with you, man.
Hey, absolutely. Anytime.
As Matt Verderam, NFL writer for SI Now. The absolute best energy is unmatched, by the way. Like I feel like me and him are like it's like we're making magic here when we do radio together. Love having him on the program. Let's do this. if the boss man's listening, I may get a hand wringing for this. I teased something earlier, never got to it. Curt Cignetti out at Big Ten Media Day, popping it, as I like to say, right? We know the Indiana Hoosiers are going to be in the mix. I believe they got the fourth best odds to win the national championship. Looking at the landscape of college sports big picture, with how the landscape of college athletics has changed. At this current juncture, what's more important to you when it comes to a head coach of a college football program, college basketball program? You want an X's and O's tactician, or a guy that has the charisma and personality to go in and wow a family and recruit and motivate? 310-840-4910. I will answer that question. Plus, we'll hear from my spirit animal, as I like to call him, Indiana Hoosiers head coach Curt Cignetti. That's next here on Westwood One Sports.
Baseball's trade deadline is tomorrow. Who will be on the move? We're on top of the trades and what they mean on Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Lynnell Willingham.
Oh, it is I. You heard the big voice guy. Oftentimes, touted as the most trustworthy member of the program. He'll never lie to you when we come back from break. It is Lynnell Willingham, youngest in charge, riding with you for about another half hour as we get you up to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Another installment of Sunday Morning Sports with the YIC. On the road this weekend, y'all. A long time ago. And when I say this, y'all are probably going to judge me, but a long time ago, back when I was in like 11th, 12th grade in high school, my friends went through that phase where everyone wanted to be a rapper. And one of my bars that I came up with, because I was constantly going back and forth from college to back home. You could use your imagination on why I was doing that and some of the other stories I've told on this program. I once said in a rap freestyle, I'm on the road like Nick Saban. Wink, wink. 310-840-4910 is the number. Kurt Signetti, my spirit animal, as I like to call him. I oftentimes fall asleep to the dulcet tones of Sig, as I like to call him. He's a badass. 110%. Love everything about him. I am a little bit disappointed. For a Hoosier team that over the last 2 years has really shocked the world, I am curious as to how they fare coming up in this Big Ten, coming up in 2026. But the reality is, I think they're just as good as Ohio State. I think Dante Moore, rather, is the difference between them and Oregon. And I also like what Oregon has on both sides of the line of scrimmage. That D-line's going to be ferocious. I think the Ducks are probably going to win the Natty. If I had to, shoot my shot here on August 2nd on who's going to win the national championship game, I would take the Oregon Ducks. Love what they have in the trenches. Love what they have at quarterback in Dante Moore. I'm eager to see, if he just goes completely Super Saiyan next year. You know who's not going to go Super Saiyan?
It's over 9,000.
Julian Sand. He's not going to go Super Saiyan. Because Kurt Signetti and company are going to have something dialed up for him, man. He gave respect to Ohio State during Big Ten Media Day, calling them, one of the best programs in all of college football. Kurt Signetti, though, understands that, even though we won the national championship last year, people are still doubting them, and they got to get back to the top of the mountaintop again. You got to earn it year in and year out. But the reality is, if we want to give, Indiana the hoo-hoo.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
We'll ever try to get Lynnell back on as I see him talking. I don't hear him talking. Should I just openly steal the mic and mock his love affair with Kerr Signetti? Nope,
Do you hear me, Andrew?
I hear you now.
There we go. Hello, Carlos. Thank you, my friend. I think I got too passionate and I knocked the wire out of my microphone.
Andrew's like yelling in my ear. He's muted. I'm like, you, and I'm like trying. You know what's the dumbest thing? And then I'll go down this rabbit hole since we're here. The dumbest thing that humans do, and this is certainly that I do, when you want to like tell someone you're muted, so you mute yourself. But I'm in a completely different state than you. We're all doing this remote, so like I'm telling you through the screen you're muted, but I don't actually make sound. I mouth the words "you're muted," like "you're muted," thinking that's going to help get the message across. I could scream it, and you're not going to hear me because my mic is muted.
That is quite literally the point. But, someone typed at me and said, "Why I see I'm questioning your hip hop history, my youth. I don't hear enough classic lyrics quoted." Well, I'll be honest. I have, and my brother got on me this the other day for this. Ever since Iceman has dropped, all I do is play that on shuffle when I drive around. I've been on, I've been on the road doing this road trip. I'm only listening to Iceman. Iceman, baby, hi.
Not Maid of Honor and the other no-name album that he dropped?
And they don't matter to me yet. I'm not there yet. I like to marinate.
I don't think anybody needs to be there.
Yeah, pretty much. But in terms of Coach Signetti, I think he deserves a lot of credit for what they are. And it leads me to believe, it leads me to think, I think when I was in high school and when I was in, coming up in middle school, the landscape of college football, it was about those X's and O's tacticians. And it still is, right? Like Kirby Smart is one of the best defensive minds in all of college football. Nick Saban was one of the best defensive minds in all of college football. When you look at a coach like Coach Freeman out at Notre Dame, though, he's a motivator. He gets guys riled up. You look at Coach Signetti out of Indiana, he's a motivator. He gets guys ready to run through a wall, right? In today's day and age, what trait to you is more valuable? 310-840-4910. Do you want your college coach being the best recruiter and motivator he could possibly be? Or are you looking to hire somebody to lead your program that's a X's and O's tactician? You're never going to get out coached with Coach X on the sideline. 310-840-4910. I think in today's day and age, obviously the perfect scenario is a blend of both, right? You get a coach that, he had, remember the word I've been using all spring, right? Discernment, right? Coaches got to have discernment in terms of like who I can pat on the back to motivate them and who I got to break my foot off in their ass. That's life as a coach. I think for me, obviously having both is the best thing, right? You're an X's and O's tactician and you've got the ability to motivate, get the most out of guys and recruit. I think I prefer, and this is how I like to be coached this way. I'm not a guy that you pat on the back. You want something from me? I need you had to cuss me out, brother. I'll be honest with you. I keep it 8 more than 92 with y'all. Growing up, as off the field and on the field, I needed to be coached hard. I appreciated that, man. It let me know that you cared. I've been listening to Glorilla. In addition to Aubrey Graham, which is why I'm adding yous into the middle of some of my words. What word did I just use, Carlos?
Curved? Like
I don't know. We're on the show where it's getting rough. 310-840-4910. Which coach do you prefer in today's day and age in college sports? Because I believe obviously both can win. But I think with the era of NIL and the ability to be able to go out and work the transfer portal, you got to have somebody that's got some charisma. That's why, to me, as I bring this back full circle, Bill Belichick's ass, thinking he was just going to go to Chapel Hill and figure things out. What a joke. He couldn't recruit me. And I'm easy. That's
Hey
on the
now.
field and off the field. 310-840-4910. I think I would prefer a master motivator, a master recruiter, because in today's day and age, that's what it's all about. And Kurt Signetti showed you, man. The old saying is Rome wasn't built in a day. And also, don't take you an hour to make some chicken strips. I use chicken strips because they're one of the best snacks out there. One of the best snacks. Everybody loves a good chicken strip.
Chicken strip with a little bit of some blue cheese or some hot sauce on it, man. Call it a
Carlos,
day.
come on, man. You're a grown-up. What are you talking about, blue cheese?
Blue cheese is the only acceptable condiment when it comes to chicken.
Oh, my goodness.
That or hot sauce.
I mean, y'all judge him as y'all want. I would normally
For
come in his
dipping
defense
purposes.
on that. Blue cheese, brother?
What's wrong with blue cheese? No, there's no. There's nothing wrong with me.
You've
Blue
been in
cheese
you've
is
been
the
in New
only
York too
acceptable-
long. You've been in New York too long. That's what I
Blue
think.
cheese is the way, baby.
Andrew, I feel like you're built better than that. You're a ranch man, right? Your hair wouldn't get to where it is if you were eating blue cheese.
Yeah, ranch is way better.
Oh no. See, I'll die on this island, man. Ranch is you need to be put in jail.
Miss Leslie types in the YouTube chat and says blue cheese is so nasty.
And you know
Yeah,
what?
it
Ban.
is.
Ban. Where's Leslie? Ban.
Putting time out. It's gonna be fascinating though. Wing season's coming up, baby. I may do some wings today.
Brother,
I have the full day to myself, guys. I'm out here in Pittsburgh. No practice to cover today because they're off. I'm going to sleep so long. Yeah, seriously, like, I don't understand the grind of this. At the end of the tour, I'm going to make a graphic so I can brag on myself and send it to sales so they're proud of us. The amount of miles that I've driven, first and foremost, before the trip that I had to the Greenbrier to go check out the Giants, the furthest I'd ever drove at one time was 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Every time I drove back from home in the DMV to go to Bethany College in West Virginia, I never was the driver, ever. Never was the driver. I don't like driving long distances. Let me not say I don't like driving long distances. I was scared of it, I guess.
I hate it. I'm with you.
Yeah, it's not fun. Especially, I'm in a nice size vehicle to where I got the requisite leg room and I'm comfy. It's been a straight shot. Like, driving to Pittsburgh was a straight shot. Well, no, driving to Pittsburgh was just all this windiness leaving the Greenbrier. It was actually awful. Getting to the Greenbrier, though, was pretty much a straight shot. The amount of miles, though, that I've picked up is one thing. The lack of sleep, though. Can I whine for a second to you all, and you all pat me on the back and tell me how great I am? We rarely do
You
that
want
on
some
this
cheese
show.
with that wine?
Wednesday, stop number 1 on the training camp tour. I don't really have to go anywhere far because Commander's Camp. It takes me an hour and 27 minutes to get to Commander's Park. Y'all know I do Monday through Wednesday nights here on the network. To get to their practice on time, I had to leave my house at 6:52 a.m. Y'all know I'm not off of the air Wednesday night until 3 a.m. My post-show activities that I participate in doesn't get me in bed early as about 4. I didn't go to bed till around 4:30, 4:45. Was up at 6:52. Went to practice. Went out in the sun. Baked. My cousin got her car stolen. Terrible. Feel bad for her. She had her car stolen. I'm currently in a rental. So I was like, okay, she's looked out for me when I've needed to be looked out for. Let her use my rental or use my actual car while I have the rental. I got insurance. I can work with it. I can handle it. There's an issue with my car, little catalytic converter problem that I have going on. And it's basically caused me to drive my manual like it's a stick shift. Excuse me, drive my automatic drive like it's a stick shift. But I'm not obviously playing with the gear. It's the how you accelerate, right? You gotta you keep it in between 1 and 3 on that little meter that's on the left. Y'all know what I'm talking about if you drive regularly. She is a mid-20s woman. Just provide proper context. Vehicles, not her expertise. So she's driving my vehicle and she doesn't know. And I'm telling her like, hey, like, It's not your normal vehicle. We got some issues going on here. But it works. I drive it all the time. I drive it to Ashburn when I need to. You got to freak it, is how I would put it in terms of the pedaling, right? She's driving the car. She's on the highway. And she's like, calls me hysterical. Like, I can't, your car is broken. Why can't I go over 30 miles an hour? That's dangerous, right? But I told you, you got to drive it like it's a stick shift. You had to crank it to get up to your 65 and 70 when you're doing highway work. And because she is a mid-20s woman, she couldn't figure it out. This is where she really killed me. She's like, I got to get to work. I'm going to Uber you to the car because you know how to drive it. Drive it back home and I'll Uber to work. That happens. I'm in the Uber car. Mind you, this Uber smells like hot garbage. And I hope this Uber driver is not listening right now because I was kind of telling him what was going on. His car stunk. It smelled like the man hadn't put on deodorant his entire life. It was awful. Trifling, right? So I'm dealing with that musty-ass scent the entire time. And the RPMs, exactly, yes. That's what somebody in the YouTube chat just typed in and said when I'm talking about keeping it between 1 and 3. That's what I meant. That's how you do it. For my car right now with the catalytic converter issue. But, you know, she gets picked up in the Uber from my car, and I'm thinking, okay, she pulled into a shopping center, and I'm pulling up to a shopping center. She left my car on the damn side of the road. How she got out of it safely, I don't know, because the folks in Charles County drive like they just have no care about human life. And I initially drive past the car because I'm like, there's no way that was my car that was on the side of the road. Now I've got a pretty sizable dent in my driver's side door, so it's like a birthmark for my car. Don't judge me. Sticks out like a sore thumb. And we drive past the car, me and the stinky Uber driver. And stinky Uber driver, man, actually had good sense of direction because he got us back to the car. But we had to pass the car twice because my silly cousin decided to just leave the car on the side of the road. So mind you, I'm running on 2 hours of sleep with all this, guys. I get out of practice. I help her out by picking her up from her hair appointment. Tells me she's going to be ready at 12:15, not ready till 1:15. Just absolutely awful. And I have to wait on her. But while I'm waiting on her, I'm posting my content from practice. I'm making the most of the situation, right? I'm making it productive, right? Lining some things up here for the network, doing things I got to do. Long story short, I end up doing the show that night, basically off of 3 hours of sleep. And it's a 4-hour show. Next day, I'm in Baltimore, right? And I don't have a show that night. But I'm having to be on the road and get up early because Ravens practice is far, and it's in the sweltering heat of Baltimore. And I was sunburnt through the entire practice. And when I say that, I don't mean literally. I mean the sun just oozed and zapped away all of my energy. But I got the content out. That's all that matters. Had a clip go viral from Ravens camp. People joining on Trey Hendrickson. It was great. But I whine and continue to whine because I didn't get much sleep that night either. I'm packing for the trip that I had the next day going to the Greenbrier. Long story short, I'm going to be sleeping a hell of a lot tonight or this afternoon because I have no camp to go to. Not leaving this hotel till tomorrow morning to go out to see the Eagles. I'm catching up on my Z's here this afternoon, guys. I have to. Let's do this. One final segment left. It's getting rowdy out in the hallway of this hotel that I'm at, so that's also something to monitor. I'll go check on them during the break as well. When we come
Please
back,
report back.
We will wrap. What'd you say?
Report back. I need to know what's going on outside.
We will definitely report back. When we come back, though, we'll look at my next stop on the training camp tour, the Philadelphia Eagles. Put them under the microscope and wrap up the show next here on Westwood One Sports.
Football is back. NFL teams across the league are taking the field for Back Together Weekend, presented by YouTube TV. Full practices, player interviews, and behind-the-scenes access. Learn more at NFL.com/BackTogetherWeekend from your radio home of the NFL. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Lynnell Willingham.
310-840. Wow, that was loud. 4910. That is the number. So we had a couple calls lined up. Let's do that as we're right up against it. Don't have a whole lot of time left here. I do want to quickly brief you all on the next couple of stops of my training camp tour. We'll be out in Philadelphia tomorrow. Paying a visit to the Philadelphia Eagles. One of the bigger off-season storylines in the NFL. How does the relationship between Jalen Hurts and Sean Mannion ultimately, work out here? Installing a new offense, pivotal year for Jalen Hurts in terms of they're going to have to make a decision on do they want to extend him at season's end, and things are interesting. Like I've said, really all offseason, I think the Eagles have the widest variance for 26 of any team in the NFL. I do, man. I can see them being a 6-win team. I could also see the Eagles being in the Super Bowl. So it's kind of how I look at it. 310-840-4910. Elijah is in D.C. wanting to chime in. Elijah, we're very, very close to the show being over, so I understand we got about a minute. What you got for us?
Lynnell, what's going on, brother? Thanks for taking my call, man. Yeah, you got it, man. Man, I was calling in about the would we rather have X's and O's or would we rather have like a motivational coach? And also, before you cut me loose, I'm curious what you think how our practice collectively, how the Commanders practice stacks up against other ones across the league and where we're headed. But I'd rather have an X's and O's guy because if I'm getting players for the next level, you're going to have to be self-motivated. And I have to teach you to not to say that you don't deserve, there's no motivation, but at the next level, you have to be self-motivated in times there aren't going to be any coaches around you. And I have to prepare you for that. So I think having you up to speed, X's and O's, and being able to not I'm going to be able to put you in the best situation and know that when you go to the next level, you have the best chance to get your feet moving with a pro style situation versus like I can be in your ear, yeah, man, yeah, and we getting pushed around in the defensive line every time.
Elijah, we got to let you run. As I mentioned, we only had about a minute left. You got a little too deep for us. I appreciate you as always, though, man. Training camp tour continues tomorrow in Philadelphia. I'm back with you 11 to 3 on Westwood One Sports.
This is Westwood One Sports.